Hello and welcome to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Explore our playlist for more captivating novels, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new audiobook. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 41 Poor. But the good days didn't last for a few days, especially after Riveria told Saul the expectations of the newly summoned Yordles. Couch needed a dedicated workshop to build his beloved aircraft. Giggs also needs a workshop to make bombs. Fitz wants a big pool. Cled wants an arena where he can fight the strong. Originally, the expansion of the family residence had not yet been completed, and suddenly there were a few more places to spend money. Couch's studio is okay, but Ryan Giggs' studio is in trouble. That blasting genius, Saul doesn't have to guess what he will research in the studio. If he wanted a studio, he would have to find a very spacious place. There is also a swimming pool where Fitz can play freely. As an amphibious Yordle, no matter how you think about it, ordinary swimming pools cannot meet the requirements of the opponent. Looking at it this way, it seems that Cled's arena is the easiest. Single quote. It's easy to fart, things like the arena are not something that can be easily made. When it was over, I suddenly felt really poor. In the future, the magic stone can't be swallowed up directly with such a large amount of money, it must be exchanged for some money to return. Alfia's money is also limited, so she can't really just sit and eat. Don't talk about it, let's find the building family to do it. Riveria, when you talk to the guild, ask for more land. There are more heroes to come in the future. Fortunately, this time it was in place at one time, saving the need to plan the distribution of buildings in the resident in the future. Time passed day by day, and without the evil of the dark faction, Olili indeed ushered in a relatively peaceful time. Even in the dark, there are still some remnants of the dark faction, but they are no longer on a scale. The current dark faction has become a street rat, and there are almost no strong people in the family. Just relying on a few small miscellaneous fishes with LV3 and LV2 and LV1, it is difficult to become an atmosphere. There are also two families, Astria and Ganesha, who are responsible for Olali's security maintenance work, completely sealing off the evil intentions of the dark faction. The stable order brought Olali back to prosperity very quickly, and of course the guild invested a lot of money in it. Basically all the seizures from the dark faction were thrown in, and even a lot of subsidies were paid for. Some family members who took over the repair work and provided raw materials can be said to have made a lot of money. It even earned more than many of the family members who participated in the crusade. Just like the expansion of the Saul family's resident, it directly made the living family of the building eat a lot of oil. Alfia's small treasury has already been emptied by Saul for less than half. That's an asset worth more than 1 billion farley, even if Alfia doesn't value it very much. Today is a celebration banquet jointly organized by several families headed by the Loki family and the Freya family. The invitation letter had been delivered to his door early in the morning. After staying at home for so long, Saul also ran away unexpectedly. I also want to take Riveria out to relax. The banquet venue at night is brightly lit, and the air is filled with cheerfulness. Saul and Riveria arrived at the entrance in a carriage. The gods who arrived first inside have already started to play around. Riveria, who is wearing a red dress, got off the carriage with the help of Saul, and immediately attracted the attention of many LSPs. That noble temperament is not even inferior to some goddesses. The money entered the banquet hall, and instantly became the focus of the banquet. The few male gods had no image at all, and the movement of drinking was suspended in the air. Yo! Saul, you guys are really slow. Rivelia Chan psycho in the red dress. I am Ganesha. Several male gods took the opportunity to say hello to Saul and the others, their eyes lingering only on Riveria. Saul could still not know the little things in these people's hearts. He kept the leader of his own treasure behind him all the way, and didn't give these guys any chance to take advantage. You dirty-minded guys, stay away from Riveria's sauce. Rocky, who was wearing a dress, got out from the crowd at the banquet. His barren breasts did not have the slightest amplitude, which could not support the expensive dress at all. The skinny and slender body was completely thrown out. The opponent's goal is very clear, which is Riveria, who was blocked by Saul. Go away too. Thor saw through Loki's calculation at a glance. He raised his palm high and waited there quietly, as if Loki just bumped into him. Snapped. The applause was exceptionally crisp, and the bright red handprints on his face were equally dazzling, and Loki flew upside down in an instant. In the next moment, Loki was ejected from the ground, and there was only a slit of squinted eyes emitting an angry light. D. We fight with you. Compared with Saul, Loki's body is extremely petite, and he just reached out his hand casually to hold the opponent's head. For a while, it was impossible to advance an inch. Damn it. Loki's struggle was useless, and the surrounding gods also laughed at each other loudly. You fellows, please be honest with me, and stop thinking about my family's Velia. Seeing Sol's haughty attitude, several male gods left angrily. I still don't forget to look back and take another look. This also caused dissatisfaction among the members of the respective families around the gods. Okay, you guys have almost had enough acting. Thor let go of his hand against Loki's forehead, and without the strength to support his body, the other party suddenly staggered forward. Almost fell into the mud, but fortunately Galatea supported the opponent. Otherwise, Loki would really become the talking point of the gods of Olili today. Chapter 42 The focus of the banquet. Saul randomly picked some food he liked, found a quiet corner in the banquet hall and sat down, and after a short wait, several gods entered the venue one after another. After almost everyone was gathered, the atmosphere also rushed to a climax. Then fellow gods. Let's toast to our victory first. Cheers. The atmosphere in the banquet was like the new year, and wanton laughter rang out everywhere. After drinking a cup, the gods chatted and played with each other. This time, Shendu, the congregation of gods, brought the top adventurers of their respective families with them, and they each showed off their own children while communicating. Especially the adventurers who played brilliantly in this battle instantly became the focus of the banquet. Saul, you guys are really ugly. Riveria is definitely not LV5. The banquet went very smoothly, and the already drunk Rocky staggered to find Saul, who was hiding in the corner, and kissed Riveria. The squinting eyes of the two-colored T*S fell on Riveria again without changing their will. Full of jealousy without hiding it. I don't know why, the L**************** N Rocky always misses her family Velia. It is even more attractive to her than Sumo's divine wine. Smelling the tangy smell of alcohol, Saul dismissed the paw that was on his shoulder in distaste. HMPH, that's because Velia in my family has a high talent, and the other party is only one career upgrade away. In this battle, Riveria's performance was particularly impressive. Of course, the opponent's combat power was also seen by many people, and doubts about the opponent's level naturally arose. It's just that concealing the grade sounds serious. As long as you don't admit it, it doesn't matter. Who can pursue it? Is that so? Then I can really look forward to how strong LV6 a Riveria sauce will be. If you want to stare at me, you might as well pay more attention to Freya, that Oda has already been promoted to 7. In order to divert Loki's attention, Saul skillfully pulled Freya out as a shield. That shining LV7 is simply the best target. Oda's upgrade was the biggest news after returning Erebus. What Rocky should pay attention to now is this LV7. After all, her family's biggest competitor is Freya. That's right, but I feel that Riveria's strength is no worse than Oda's. Of course, Velia is the best in my family. Facing the ambiguous answer, Loki stared at the other party for a moment, then nodded speciously. Sure enough, it is not realistic to get information from the old fox Saul through questioning. Not much disappointed. Even though he suspected that Riveria was LV7, Loki still didn't expose the lie. That would only offend Saul outright, and it would do her no good. Her family didn't have the energy to distract them from dealing with a few opponents of the same level. At least for now, the Saul family has returned to a neutral attitude. The current competitor of the Loki Familia is Freya. I have something to talk to Hephaestus, bye. He greeted the other party frivolously, took Riveria in his arms and walked towards the red-haired Hephaestus. The other party is not difficult to find. As the top forging family of Orario, and the first-level adventurer Tsubaki is the leader, Hephaestus has a high status in Orario. There were quite a few people around Hephaestus, all of whom seemed to want to make some deals with each other. How did you come to find me? What's the matter, don't you welcome me? Saul squeezed through the crowd carelessly. That's not true, it's just a little accident. Hephaestus put his hands on his chest and looked at Thor suspiciously. The two of them didn't meet much in the heavenly realm, and even if they were in the lower realm, they didn't have much contact. Even when it comes to customizing equipment for the members of the family, Riveria usually comes forward. Also in Orario, Hephaestus hardly sees Saul except when the gods meet. I'm looking for you here because I have something to talk to you about. There is still something that allows you to do it yourself, so I have to listen carefully. Hephaestus looked at the other party with great interest. A child who likes forging came to my family recently, so I plan to show her a workshop. That's a good thing. What do I need to do? Hephaestus roughly guessed Thor's purpose. Olili has so many adventurers coming every day, even if her family is the most authoritative in blacksmithing, not all blacksmiths will join the Hephaestus family. However, Saul can directly arrange a workshop for the other party. It seems that the child's talent in forging is really high. Just liking is not enough. I want to ask your family to help complete the internal facilities of the workshop. As long as you give me money. Hephaestus still looked reticent. Of course. You came to me just for this. You can just let your children tell Tsubaki about this kind of thing. Providing a forging workshop equipment, such a trivial matter requires Saul, a great god, to personally dispatch it. I hope you can arrange someone to teach the child the craft. It would be even better if the god of craftsmen is willing to do it himself. He knew that the other party would not go out of his way for such a trivial matter. Saul's opening in person would definitely not be for a small blacksmith, at least it must be of Tsubaki's level. Moreover, each mature blacksmith has his own style of forging technology, which is usually passed down from generation to generation. Even if the requirements are relaxed a bit more, they are still teaching companions of their own family members. It is not easy for outsiders to learn. I knew that there was nothing good for you to come to me. I'll ask you when I go back. Then please. The reaction of Hephaestus was obviously to agree to Thor's request. But this kind of thing is not easy to say directly, otherwise everyone will go to her house to learn forging in the future. She is not a philanthropist either. Chapter 43. I had achieved my original purpose of attending the banquet, but it was a pity that this treasure land of my own had attracted the attention of many people because of Loki's nonsense. Saul could only find a quiet corner again. In the middle of the hall, in the large vacant space, many gods are already leading their children to dance. The surrounding corners suddenly turned into a no-man's land that no one cared about. But Thor had absolutely no interest in dancing. However, there are quite a few women with sexy bodies on the dance floor, especially a few goddesses, who are dressed very coolly, and occasionally he can find some benefits as the dance moves. Does it look good? Riveria felt a little jealous in her heart, and quietly moved her small hand to Sol's waist. Generally, not as good looking as Velia in my family. Sol's face remained unchanged, and he opened his mouth to speak nicely. But Riveria was very good at this, and her bright smile bloomed again. The little hand that was about to commit a crime was taken back. You still like to stay in this quiet place. When the two were kissing me in the corner, Astoria's voice sounded from the side. Riveria seemed to be frightened. She skillfully pushed Saul away, and in the blink of an eye, there was a distance between the two. Lady Justice. I hope you won't be so blind next time. Raising his head, Saul had a bit of dissatisfaction in his eyes, completely undisguised. Astria was accompanied by the head of the family, Elise, who had been promoted to LV4 in the previous battle. Anyway, I saved your life before, so you just repay me like this. Sol's tone was not kind. Full of resentment seemed to swallow the two women opposite. Did it bother you to see the beautiful women? I'm appreciating art. Do you understand? Look at how hard these girls are working so hard. If you don't appreciate them, you're sorry for their hard work. Astoria, how can you have such dirty thoughts? Quote. Sol's nonsense is one set, and he speaks as if she is a heinous person. Okay, I wronged you, Mr. Saul who appreciates art. Astoria's expression was perfunctory. He didn't even argue with himself like before. Really boring. Saul immediately lost interest in answering. But I really didn't have the mood to continue watching the dance. Turning his head to the side, he looked at the empty ceiling with a lack of interest. Okay, actually, I came this time to thank you. Astoria looked at Saul tenderly. He sat down leaning against the other party without any hesitation, and Riveria next to him stood up very discerningly. Give these two some space. Instead, Elise looked at the scene in front of her in shock. When did her goddess become so active towards men? Before she could figure out the question in her heart, Rivria pulled her away the next moment. Does your child look surprised? Saul noticed Elise's abnormality. I haven't told them about our relationship, so it's normal to be surprised. Then you can talk to them about science when you go back. Saul had a smirk on his face. I'd do it if I had the chance. So thank you, how are you going to thank me? Why don't you just say it, I won't accept it. Don't worry, I'm not so shameless. Astoria rolled her eyes helplessly. That's good, or you can just give me 200 million Fali as a thank you gift, I will definitely be grateful. Who would say that they want a thank you gift, and I can't get 200 million Baileys? Saying that, Astoria stretched out her jade hand and slapped Saul on the shoulder. Are you short of money? That's right, I want to expand the family resident. Recently, some newcomers have come in, and the money is not enough. Saul complained weakly, and habitually fell in the direction of Astria. It landed precisely on the opponent's thigh. You really haven't changed at all. It's not good, it's so tiring to keep changing. Astoria caressed Saul's face, with some memories in her eyes. When he was in the heavens, Saul, this guy likes to lie on his lap and sleep with a shameless face. After the lower world, she was busy with family affairs, and she hadn't gotten along with Thor so easily for a long time. Even these children of their own family don't know their relationship with Thor. The corner where Astria and Saul are located is like two worlds from the outside world. There are no blind people to disturb their two world, but their close relationship is still seen by many people. The gods were not surprised by the relationship between Saul and Astria. After all, the news that Astria was taken down by Saul was quite a sensation in the dull heaven. Except for a few dead house gods, basically no one knows. On the contrary, the adventurers who were brought to the banquet ate up the botamelons. The pure Lady Justice has a man. The carnival time passed quickly, and the dinner was coming to an end. The main reason is that these gods played too crazy, and soon got tired of playing. There were not many couples dancing on the dance floor, and some gods had already left the venue with their children. The two of them didn't care about the end of the banquet, and they didn't seem to notice the passage of time until Rivria and Alexei came back. I still have about 6,000 W Farley here, you can use it if you need it. Feeling Saul get up, the disappearance of the oppressive feeling on the thigh made Astria feel empty. But Astoria didn't show it on her face. Instead, he whispered something in Saul's ear. Haha, then I will remember it, and I will come to you when I am at the end of my life. 6,000 W Farley is a drop in the bucket for Saul, but Astoria has a good attitude. Master Saul is very satisfied. He raised his hand chicly and waved, leading Rivria strode out of the banquet hall. Chapter 44 Cooperation. As Orari entered a period of rapid development, the city became more and more prosperous. The family, immersed in the joy of victory, frantically recruited new adventurers, and at the same time seized the resources that had been occupied by the dark faction. Especially the production family and business family, the speed of development can be called terrifying. If there was an important thing that happened during this period, it was that a meeting of gods was held to choose titles for the recently upgraded adventurers. Under Riveria's strong request, Saul reluctantly took back the title of Nine Magic Girl for her. Dragon god Mickey, regrettably withdrew from the stage of history. And on this day, Hephaestus brought Tsubaki and a group of men to the Saul family. In order to fulfill the agreement between herself and Saul, she plans to teach Bobby a little directly at the other party's house. By the way, arrange a few workshops. Originally, this kind of thing didn't need her, the craftsman god, to do it in person, but who asked the Saul family to give more. And Saul, this guy has to build 5 workshops at a time, and all kinds of equipment are worth $1,000. Facing this big business, Hephaestus slightly relaxed his bottom line. It is also to build a good relationship with Thor. This top family has the highest demand for weapons, and there may be cooperation in the future. A weapon is worth tens of millions or hundreds of millions of mana, and selling 10,000 pieces of common equipment is not as good as one piece of top-notch equipment. The point is that Hephaestus is also somewhat curious about the Saul family. Master Saul is inside. Under Riveria's guidance, Hephaestus soon saw Saul lying on a deck chair in the courtyard. The other party was basking in the sun comfortably, looking leisurely. It's not at all like some gods, who are so busy trying to attract newcomers, seize resources, and develop their families. This is the surplus of the family. Yo Hephaestus, how come you have time to come to me? I'm here to visit your family residence, aren't you welcome? That's not true, you just visit casually. Saul changed a comfortable posture. Speaking of which, why didn't your family's residence have a name? I don't have much talent in picking names. I'll think about it later. He frowned, as if lost in thought. Okay, it's useless not to tell you these things, don't you want me to teach your child forging? I just walked all the way, and I didn't seem to see your children. After waiting for a while, Hephaestus interrupted Thor's thoughts with great insight. After thinking about it, I feel that my purpose of coming here today will not be achieved. If you're looking for Bobby, she's teamed up with the others to go down to the dungeon for an adventure. The person I want to teach is called Bobby, and the newcomer entered the dungeon so quickly. I can't help it. Children who have just joined the family are always full of energy. They usually form a team and venture into the dungeon by themselves. It's time to maintain their condition before the expedition. Are you going to let LV1 newcomers join the expedition? Hephaestus looked at Saul with an expression of, "You're crazy." It is not surprising to her that the Saul family will go on an expedition, but it is a bit difficult for her to understand bringing newcomers. Based on the guild's requirements for the Saul family, they must explore deeper. Will bringing a newcomer hold you back? Aren't you afraid that the newcomer will die in the dungeon? That's deep. If you're not paying attention, even the advanced adventurers might stay there forever. I've discussed it with the people in the guild. The requirements for this expedition are not high, and the exploration is mainly based on the premise of safety. With the existence of top adventurers, you have confidence in your words. Hephaestus smiled playfully. Although there is a Tsubaki in her family, but the other party is obviously not very interested in adventure. Upgrading is only to obtain the development ability that can strengthen one's forging ability. But who doesn't want to have a lot of powerful adventurers at home? Now that the other children of the family have gradually grown up, Riveria's burden is much lighter. Saul had a smug expression, and Hephaestus looked annoyed and amused. The Saul family submitted a member-level information to the guild before, and she saw all the names of the more than 10 upgrades. Led by Riveria of LV6, relying on the elf army established by this top adventurer, the Saul family deservedly entered the first rank of Orario. However, what she didn't know was, the main purpose of Saul letting his children venture into the dungeon frequently is to fill the funding gap for the development of the family residence. In order to buy the land near the family resident from the guild, a large amount of fare has been spent, and those facilities are not cheap. He is really out of money. Even the facilities bought from Hephaestus's house this time were mostly paid for by Alphea's deposit. It was reckless to let the parallel consciousness suck up all the magic stones in the first place. At the same time, in the dungeon, some members of the Saul family were carefully exploring on the 15th floor. The leaders of this adventure are the two sisters Chong and Lan. The main goal of the operation is to familiarize newcomers with the environment of the dungeon. The original plan of the two sisters was to take the newcomers to slowly adapt to the rhythm of the dungeon on the lower floors. Unexpectedly, the strength of these newcomers is much stronger than they expected, and the low-level monsters have no pressure on them. Just as everyone brushed off a wave of monsters, they were just about to find a place to eat and rest for a while. A large group of various red-eyed monsters, mainly hell wolves and little white rabbits, rushed over from a distance. The number far exceeds normal levels, just like locusts passing through the country. The ground seemed to be trembling, and in front of the group of monsters, several adventurers were running for their lives in a panic. Seeing the team of Soul's family, several people seemed to see the hope of life, and quickly changed the direction of escape and ran towards them. Save us. Be careful, it's a feast for monsters, cheer up and prepare for battle. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 45 Monster Feast. Monster Feast is a unique form after the 10th floor, which refers to the sudden birth of a large number of monsters in the dungeon to attack the adventurers. But the number in front of me is indeed a bit surprising. Standing in the middle of the team was Lan. Facing this feast of monsters, she didn't show much panic on her face. Although there are a lot of them, after all, this is only the 15th floor, and the strength of the monsters lies there. Anyway, there are two LV5s in their team, unless they are attacked by humans, they will basically not be in danger. Just as the members of the family were about to move in accordance with the training formation, Kled was already excitedly riding Scar and rushed out first. The originally rigorous formation was pulled away by his own people. And just behind Kled, there were actually a few problem children who kept up with each other's rhythm. Lan and Chong looked at each other helplessly. Seems to understand the reason why Riveria has a headache for bringing newcomers. A group of people passed by the fleeing adventurers, stimulated by Kret's fighting spirit, those adventurers stopped running. Looking back, Nar with a crazy expression had already collided with Momo. Whoa! Scar! Whoa! Although he was alone, feeling the indomitable momentum of the opponent, the charge of one person and one rider gave people the feeling of 1,000 troops. Swinging the double-edged axe in his hand round, the two hellhounds at the front were instantly decapitated by inertia, and instantly turned into black mist and disappeared in place. The two magic stones fell to the ground to officially start the battle, and Kled, who was riding Scarl, was overwhelmed by the beast tide in the blink of an eye. The irrational monsters seemed to slow down, and followed Nar and Bobby into the beast tide. Tisk, these rookies are really tough. The smile on Lan's face was a bit forced, these guys really didn't listen to orders at all. Then what is the significance of them training their formation at the beginning? And in the middle of the formation, Tristana started long-range support. She has a weapon brought from Roland, but the ammunition is limited at the moment, and Ziggs made it temporarily for her. But it is still very easy to deal with these upper-level monsters. Veronica watched eagerly the battle of her companions in the distance, and couldn't help but put her hand on the hilt. She had just been called by Riveria to give her a private education. However, I feel that if I don't do anything, these monsters will not be able to rush forward. Do not care. Even if you want to be scolded, wait until you get back. Single quote. Veronica's eyes gradually became firmer, and she quietly glanced at Lan beside her, and while the other party was not looking at her, she stepped on the ground and rushed out. Veronica. Really? Looking at these reckless guys, Lan's eyelids twitched. These one by one, can't make people save some snacks. No matter how good her self-cultivation is, she still can't help but want to scold him severely. This is not a human job, it feels more tiring than letting her participate in the expedition. Next time she will definitely not take these newcomers out on adventures. Joan, you protect these children, I will protect them. Leaving the rest of the members to his sister, Lan quickly caught up with Veronica. She was much faster than Veronica, and after getting closer, she decisively took off the longbow behind her. No need to aim when drawing the bow and string, 3 arrows flew past Veronica, and the monsters in front of her were instantly pierced into scurrying. Veronica easily rushed into the beast tide from Lan Qing's empty position. What kind of monsters are these people? In a relatively safe place in the distance, the adventurers who fled before are hiding here to observe the battle situation. From time to time, black mist drifted away from the beast tide, and the sound of magic stones falling to the ground was endless. That is to say, these Yordles do not have the ability to clear the field with AoE at present, so they can only solve them one by one. Even so, the number of this monster feast is still visible to the naked eye. Witnessing this scene, they only felt a huge blow in their hearts. They did know the 2 LV5 elves, and there was a little disturbance in Orario a few days ago, but where did these dwarves come from? Newcomers are some kind of monsters. Nah. At this moment, a deafening roar of beasts suddenly came from the center of the beast horde. The echo echoed through the dungeon, and could even be faintly heard on the upper and lower floors. Everyone's eyes naturally focused on it, only to see that the hair on Nar's body had turned red. The eyes were full of fierce light, completely lost the mischievous taste in the past. Nar, it's red and warm. The next moment, Nar's body suddenly became bigger, and his huge body felt like it was about to hit the 15th floor ceiling. The monsters on the ground instantly turned into kittens and puppies in front of him. This is not the end of the transformation. The giant Nar's hands slapped the ground, and a huge force caused a shock, overturning everything in front of him. The monsters in one direction are instantly emptied. The giant Nar's movements didn't stop, he grabbed the boulder at hand, turned around and smashed it in the other direction. The boulder, which is several times larger than the Hellwolf, is like a bowling ball in his hands. The monsters along the way melted instantly when they touched the boulder. In an instant, a lot of monster feasts that had been cleaned up were even fewer. There is also a lot of open space on the 15th floor that was originally occupied. Lan could already see the family companions in the herd through the gap. One by one, they all look full of energy. What was she worried about before? Don't keep your hands. Quickly clean up the monster feast. While speaking, Lan didn't hold back his hand, and the speed of drawing the bow was so fast that afterimages appeared. The other members behind them also started to act, and it didn't take long for the entire 15th floor to fall into silence. Adventurers who come here for the first time may regard this as a safe floor. You guys, I told you to act according to the command. Chapter 46 The Empty Nest Old Man, Saul. The magic stones and falling objects left on the ground spread a thin layer in this small area nearby, and the members of the family immediately began to clean up the harvest. After doing this, I can go back almost today. The harvest has exceeded expectations. Taking advantage of the time when the family members were tidying up the battlefield, Lan began to educate the members who did not obey the command. It's just that Nar and the others just looked at her with a cute expression, which made her feel a sense of guilt when she reprimanded her. What are you aggrieved about? Forget it, the matter of raising children is still a headache for Mrs. Riveria. Lan suddenly had an impolite thought in his mind. Riveria, who was still serving Tsubaki in the family, suddenly covered her mouth and sneezed lightly. There was a chill all over his body, as if he was being watched by someone. After exchanging Farley in the guild, some dropped items and collected materials were left behind and brought back to the family. The mighty team returned to the family resident under the envious eyes of many adventurers. At present, the area occupied by the family members has expanded a lot, and many places are under construction. In addition, Lan and the others came back a little late, and even the construction workers had already packed up and left, so the site looked a bit desolate. Walking to the family hall, Riveria was already standing there waiting. Seeing Lan's tired expression, Riveria seemed to feel something, and patted Lan on the shoulder to comfort him. Thank you for your hard work. Did you encounter any problems? I encountered a monster feast on the 15th floor today, but it was resolved smoothly, and these newcomers are also very capable. Lan's tone was a bit complicated. What can I do? Really capable. It would be better if the energy was not so high. Even though they had been adventuring in the dungeon all day, Nar and the others still couldn't see how tired they were. On the contrary, Lan looked even more tired. A few months passed quickly, and the Saul family finally finished their preparations and invited some blacksmiths from Hephaestus. Every expedition means a lot of expenses, and Thor seems to understand the pain of the Loki family. The preparation of medicines and spare weapons alone is a considerable expense. For example, they also need to hire blacksmiths and healers to accompany the team, and the expenses are even more terrifying. For more than a few months, the family members' income from adventures in the dungeon finally filled the gap in the family's books. For this reason, Riveria also took people to swipe Goliath and Anne Faith Barner a few times. Goliath, thank you. Anne Faith Barner, thank you too. In any case, the money was enough. The high-end combat forces of the family led by Riveria officially started the expedition, accompanied by Kled, Nar and other Yordles. The family members suddenly became much quieter, and it was no longer the bustling scene. What was left behind was Wei Gussie, a spoiled brat who didn't want to go out. Of course, Althea also stayed by Sol's side. The duo in the backyard are guys who don't go out. The empty family members made Sol feel bored very quickly, and even bickering with Althea on weekdays could make him a little more energetic. In the beginning, Sol was still able to walk around Orario, and of course he mainly ran towards the Astria family. However, Astoria is also very busy, and the members of his family don't have much time to stay at home in order to maintain Olali's law and order. It's really boring, why don't you go see Aina? A flash of inspiration flashed in Sol's mind, and a familiar figure emerged. Aina was originally Riveria's personal maid, and she has been with her since she was a child, and she was also a member of Riveria who accompanied Sol to leave Alfred Wongson. It's a pity that the other party doesn't have the talent to become an adventurer, but Riveria's status as a maid makes her status a little higher than that of ordinary elves. The statement of the 7th rank official in front of the Prime Minister's gate is not only useful to human beings. When the family had just started to develop and everyone was not very familiar with it, Aina's position in the family was somewhat awkward. Riveria herself doesn't like being served by others, and Aina, who has no adventurer talent, has nothing to do in the family. Riveria simply arranged for her to take care of Sol's daily life. But one day a few years ago, something even more outrageous happened. The other party was pregnant. The culprit didn't need to think too much, it was obvious that someone took care of his maid and put her on the bed. A loyal elf would not seek a second man. This lascivious person is a god, this time it's good, it's really killing people. Riveria was so angry that she ignored Sol for several months. Sol, who knew the news, was even more surprised. Although he really didn't take any safety measures, thinking back to when he opened Impact with so many goddesses in the heavens, he hadn't had any problems for thousands of years. Thor once thought that the gods of this world would have no heirs. Who knew that he would actually be shot in the next shot? It's just that Riveria was still staring at him murderously. Sol didn't have time to think more. Like the calm before the storm. Riveria couldn't even control her expression at the beginning. The air in the room was extremely oppressive, making it difficult to breathe. Since then, Riveria's control over Sol has become much stricter. For more than half a year, Thor didn't even have the chance to leave the family residence. Sol, who felt wronged, obediently complied with Riveria's request, and also conscientiously accompanied Aina, playing the role of a good father. And feeling sorry for Riveria is also to hide this matter. Aina chose to leave the family residence silently, and found a quiet place to settle down in Owlery. Of course Sol still often goes out to see them. Chapter 47 Daughter. Memories suddenly started to attack him, thinking of when Aina was just pregnant, Sol's longing for the two girls became more intense. Thinking of taking action, Sol took Althea and left the family residence quickly. Some time ago, it seemed that Aina had been in poor health recently. This time, she happened to bring Althea with her to give her some vitality. Doesn't the recovery rune come in handy here? The place where Aina lives is not far from the residence of Sol's family, and the two soon arrived at their destination. This is a large single-family house with a small yard in front of the house. There are a lot of flowers and plants planted in the yard. Through the gap in the fence, Sol can see a small figure watering the flowers hard. Thor is no stranger to the master of the figure. If it follows the flow of the original plot, Aina will also give birth to a girl. This child will still occupy a lot of space in the future plot. As the protagonist's novice instructor in the early stage, he provided a lot of help to the weak protagonist. That's right, in the original plot, Aina's daughter is the guild's adventurer advisor, Aina Zul. When he first learned of Aina's pregnancy, Sol once suspected that it was caused by the world's correction power. But even so, the correcting power can be replaced by another person as Belle's adventurer advisor. Olili's half-goblins can be easily caught, but they are not particularly rare. It is not easy for the guild to recruit them. It's not as easy as you let me be a god to have a child. What's more, my daughter of the Aurelion family, what guild do I need to be a little adventurer consultant in the future? Are you looking down on me or my Sol family? I accept the child, but it is impossible for me to make your correction power come true. Don't talk about the protagonist, it's impossible to let your own daughter into the harem. That's my blood, my daughter. But the child's name is still Aegina, Aina's name, of course Aurelion Aegina. Sol pushed the door open a small crack, quietly put his head in. Aegina in the garden didn't notice the movement behind her at all, she was focused on taking care of her beloved garden. After checking her clothes, she turned her head and glanced at Althea again. After seeing the other party nodding for confirmation, Sol was relieved. I've never seen this godly man pay so much attention to his image. How sacred are the children in this yard? Aegina-chan. The familiar voice made Aegina turn around in an instant, and then she left the watering can and ran towards Sol. Sol quickly squatted down, grabbed the opponent's waist with his right hand, and immediately hugged the little guy. How about it, do you miss Dad? HMPH, you haven't seen me for a long time. Aegina shrugged her nose in dissatisfaction, but soon she couldn't hold back her smile. Sol couldn't help pinching that little face with his cute expression, and the little guy suddenly pouted. As for Althea, who was following Sol, the CPU had been burned dry. What did I hear? Dad. And Saul didn't mean to refute, so what's the matter with that loving expression? My new boss already has a child. Speaking of which, gods can still have children with the people of the lower world. Althea's face was full of bewilderment, and she was not sure whether she should quit for a while. Aina is at home. Saul did not shy away from her. After making out with Aegina for a while, Thor put her down again. The little guy held Saul's big hand the whole time, and didn't let go for a moment. As if worried that he would slip away suddenly. Aegina, do you have any guests? There was a sudden gentle shout from inside the house, followed by the gate between the house and the courtyard being pulled open. Aina stood quietly on the steps. The moment he saw Saul, a smile appeared on the other's face. Especially when he saw Saul holding Aegina, the smile on the other party's face became brighter. Kui walked towards the two of them, bending down respectfully and saluting as if he had just entered the family. Really, the relationship between us, you are still so estranged with me. Saul's words made Aina blush immediately, and she lowered her head to look at her toes. The girl seemed shy no matter the time. No, she is no longer a girl. But shyness is true, obviously both of their children are already this big. It's really funny. How are you doing recently? I heard that your health is not very good. Thanks to your concern, my health is fine. Aina has always been so soft-spoken, but her pale face is obviously different from what she said. It's not like there's nothing serious about it. I brought you a doctor this time, and you'll be fine soon. While speaking, Saul put his arm around the other's shoulder, and led Aegina into the house with one hand. Althea naturally didn't need her to say more, and naturally followed behind. No matter what happened, she was ready to act as if she couldn't hear or see, and she would do whatever Saul asked her to do. Sitting on the sofa in the living room, Althea stood behind Aina, putting her hands on her shoulders. The pure life force was poured into the opponent's body continuously, and the frail body was exposed to nectar for a long time, and the face soon became bloody. The healing time is very short, and the vitality brought by the recovery rune is invincible. Seeing her mother recovered, Aegina excitedly grabbed Althea and thanked her. Faced with such a young girl, and she is also the daughter of his own Lord God. Mainly because it looks so cute. It was rare for Althea to put away her cold expression, and exchanged a few words with the other party with a smile. This is a treatment that is difficult for Riveria to get. Chapter 48 The Little Dragon Clan Shocked. In the past few months, the number of exchanges between Riveria and Althea can be counted on the fingers. Most of them were Riveria's sparring with Althea, who was ridiculed by the opponent after being beaten. This beautiful-looking woman is really P********* D off when she looks yin and yang. For this reason, in just a few months of free time, Riveria's melee ability has improved by leaps and bounds, and she even practiced the ability to strike with a cane. How do you feel? Very effective, the body is no longer uncomfortable, thank you very much. Looking up at Althea behind her, Aina, who originally wanted to thank her, suddenly paused. I don't seem to know the other person's name, how rude. Looking at Saul as if asking for help. She is our family's new companion, Peruta. Hearing what Saul said, Aina was stunned. Even though he has already left, Master Saul still regards her as a member of the family. Thank you very much for your help, Miss Peruta. No need to thank, it's just a matter of convenience. When facing the adults, Althea regained her cold attitude. I have one more thing to trouble you this time, about Aegina. What's the trouble? Aegina is also my daughter. Saul messed with Aina's hair as punishment. The other party didn't care about Saul's actions, and continued talking while tidying up. Recently, suddenly several lords of the high gods came to me and invited Aegina to join their family. Huh. Someone actually came to invite Aegina. Saul's expression immediately changed. Even if the outside world doesn't know that Aina is a member of his family, they don't know Aina's true identity. But this neighborhood can barely be regarded as his own territory, who dares to come to his house to pull people? But those people have really good eyesight. After all, this Aegina is not the helpless guild adventurer consultant in the original plot. As Thor's blood relative, her talents and abilities are definitely among the top. Back then, before Roland was built, Saul almost had to directly replace the script of Many Children and Many Blessings. However, Aegina also seems to have the intention of joining the Familia. I hope she will still follow you. Indeed, Aegina is also at this age. Saul did not hesitate too much. Even if Agina really has an idea, then he must support it. If she doesn't train her own child, why not let him enter another family? At that time, Agina, a top adventurer of Orario, seems to be quite interesting. That's it. I'll add favors to Agina right now. It was the first time that Soul's execution was so strong. After obtaining Aina's consent, she immediately grabbed the other's little hand and entered Aina's room. Without a silver needle to P***K his finger, Saul could barely make ends meet with sewing needles. Open black lens bracket Aurelion Agina close black lens bracket. Level 1. Ability value. Strength. I0. Durability. I0. Dexterity. I0. Agility. I0. Magic. I0. Open black lens bracket magic close black lens bracket. Flame and wind dance. Wide area annihilation magic. Chant text open black lens bracket wind floating in the sky, fire wandering on the earth, in my most dangerous moment, I ask for your help, lend me your strength for a while, destroy the evil power, tear up the shroud of darkness, manifested with the will of the dragon clan. The strongest combination. Close black lens bracket. Opening square bracket closing square bracket comma opening square bracket closing square bracket. Open black lens bracket skill close black lens bracket. Blood of the dragon. All attributes improved. Katakana middle dot increased abnormal resistance. Katakana middle dot ability to activate magic limited to dragons. Agina's favor was added smoothly. Saul looked at the parchment in front of him with satisfaction, as expected of his own daughter. He successfully inherited the blood of his own dragon family, and there is also a magic that looks very powerful. Although I have never seen the power of this magic, the wide area annihilation magic already represents terrifying power. And the chant text is so long, no matter how you think about it, it's not easy. Look at Alphea's wide area annihilation magic, and give Leviathan a second. My girl has a bright future. At that time, a black dragon will give Olali a little dragon shock. Aina's house was full of joy and harmony, but the expedition team in the dungeon didn't have such a good time at this time. Because of the small number of people, the movement speed of the expeditionary force is much faster than that of the Loki family. On the 39th floor of the dungeon, the expedition team is resting here. In order to reach the deep layer in one breath, they arrived at this safe floor with almost no rest along the way. The deep sense of oppression is much stronger than that of the upper layer. Even though Nar and the others are very strong at the same level, when facing the deep layer, Rivria dare not let them mess around as they like. Afterwards, we will enter the deep part of the dungeon. It is not a place where you can mess around. Gathering the companions of the expedition team together, Rivria spoke a few words seriously. After finishing speaking, his gaze involuntarily fell on Kret and Nar. These people are not ordinary. For this reason, after telling them, Rivria did not forget to emphasize it to Keenan several times. Leave it to me, I will appease them. With Keenan's promise, Rivria finally breathed a sigh of relief. She can also see that this elder among the Yordles still has some authority in front of other Yordles. However, after getting along with each other, she knew that Keenan was still very stable, so that people could hand over the task to the other party with peace of mind. It's just that the level hasn't been raised yet. But it shouldn't be a big problem just to make the other party optimistic about other Yordles. As long as you don't let yourself take care of them. Chapter 49 Floor Master Balur. The next safe floor is 50 floors. The floor master on the 49th floor, Balur, has a high probability of not being attacked. We may still need to deal with the floor master. The goal of this expedition was to book the 48th floor from the very beginning, so it would be great if we could conquer the 49th floor, Lord Balur. Then adjust the plan according to the situation. Before she had upgraded, the Saul family's expedition had already reached the 40th floor. Now with the strength of LV7 as a foundation, Rivria's heart is much more courageous, and she is no longer so worried about safety issues. The deeper the level, the monsters began to grow in size, and their abilities were also diverse. Whether it's poison or the types of abnormal states, everything has become complicated. Moreover, the abnormal state caused by these high-level monsters cannot be solved by ordinary potions. The various advanced medicines that he carried before departure finally played a role. After stepping into the 44th floor, the surrounding environment has changed. The 44th floor is a volcanic environment. Even the air on this floor seems to be scorching hot. You must wear special heat insulating equipment to move. Even so, the volcanic ash in the air made it difficult to breathe. Especially for members with lower ranks, they have to bear more. Fighting in this situation is also more tiring. The action began to become more difficult, and the speed of the expedition naturally slowed down. Unknowingly, half a month has passed for the outside world. The members of the expedition team didn't bother to pay attention to the time at all. They just wanted to get to the 50th floor quickly so that they could rest assured. Camping on the common floor is never a good idea. I can't even sleep well at night, and I have to worry about the attack of monsters all the time. The number of Thor's family became the key factor limiting their expedition. For example, the Loki family can pull out a logistics team of hundreds of people every time they go on an expedition, and they basically don't need high-level executives for tasks like sentry at night. It can only be said that each has its own advantages and disadvantages. Riveria was a little depressed. Would she dare to let a Yordle with a personality like Kled or Nar stand guard? What if it is attracted by something while standing guard? At that time, will the camp be taken over by monsters? Fortunately, all suffering will eventually see the light of day. They finally came to the entrance of the 49th floor. Even if you haven't entered this floor yet, you can hear the roar from inside if you stand near the entrance. It was the roar of the floor master Balur. Listening to the roar is full of vitality. Hurry up and rest where you are. Choosing a position that is easy to defend and difficult to attack, Riveria waved her staff to prop up a barrier. Only then did the members of the expedition begin to rest in complete relief. Balur is not easy to deal with, be careful. According to the information obtained from Althea. As the floor master of the 49th floor, Balur's strength has reached the level of LV7. For Mage, a guard who relies on his teammates, it is definitely a difficult opponent. Riveria, with her powerful firepower, can take that guy out, but getting close is a disaster. There is no vanguard in the current expedition team that can resist Balur. It will take some time for these kids to grow. Riveria's eyes flickered. In a while, Lan, you lead the team to cover me from the side, and the rest guard the entrance to the 49th floor. When facing Balur at LV7, bringing adventurers below LV2 is simply leading them to death. Their level is too low, and it is estimated that they will not be able to break through Balur's defense. Simply give them a task to protect the passage, and if there is an accident, don't be cheated. Seeing that her companions had regained some energy, Riveria took a deep breath, and asked her companions in the expedition team to check their weapons before leading the team into the passageway on the 49th floor. The 49th floor of the dungeon is called the Great Wilderness. Compared with the previous floors, it seems to have entered a new world. It seemed to feel that life had broken into his territory, and a deafening roar came from a distance. Immediately afterwards, a huge figure tens of meters high suddenly emerged from the ground where Riveria and the others were standing. Just one head was about the size of 5 Riverias, and the ferocious expression shocked the weak members in the back row. Stand back. Riveria raised the Magna Ives in her hand high, and smashed it heavily towards Balur's head. Although he was only a defender mage, with the addition of level, the power of LV7 made Balur retreat temporarily. The original opponent's desire to attack the back row was also shattered. Riveria's wand is inlaid with 9 of the most advanced, magic gems, of super standard wands, which can enhance the power of magic to the extreme. In addition, the rod body made of refined metal and Holy Emperor ore is extremely strong, and it can be used as a long-handled weapon. Riveria's wrist was in great pain from the impact of this stick. Otherwise, she had the experience of being specially trained by Althea before, and she felt that her staff was about to fall out of her hand. In the distance, Balur, who opened the distance, quickly returned to normal, and his huge palm instantly enveloped them. A gust of wind blew it down towards the ground. Tisk, don't give me any time to breathe. Riveria's face turned ugly. Ever since she was attacked, the initiative has been taken away by her opponent. There is no time to even chant magic now. Balur seemed to be able to feel who was threatening him on the other side, and after the initial sneak attack failed, the target was only Riveria. This IQ is not like those brainless monsters at all. Chapter 50. 50 Floors. Endless land, raise your boundless chest, and cut off the world, city of earth. Joan in the distance finished singing the magic in time, and the pale yellow magic circle extended to Riveria's feet. Numerous earthen walls rose in front of her, quickly protecting her from all angles. The hard rock wall was as fragile as paper in front of Balur, and it was torn to pieces after only blocking the big hand for a moment. But the time gained was enough. Let's dance, spirit of the air, lord of light. I have signed a contract with the guardian god of the forest, and I hope to play the song of the earth to cover us and protect us. Please turn into a giant wall of forest light and protect us. My name is Alfred. The barrier of dimension blocking turned into a second layer of protection to block Balor's claw strikes. With the cover of defensive magic, Riveria finally had room to breathe. Regardless of wasting time, Riveria once again condensed the magic power in her body. I saw the gems inlaid on the top of the staff shining brightly. She chanted the spell of Wes Windheim in a low voice, and the huge magic circle generated by the attack magic of the third stage spread outwards along her feet. In a blink of an eye, everything that the eyes can see is surrounded by the magic circle. With the assistance of the mana flow belt, Riveria is not worried that the magic power in her body cannot keep up with the consumption speed of magic. However, under the effect of the transcendental runes in the original ultra-long text magic, Riveria omitted most of the mantras. The cadres of the family behind him have already begun to cover the retreat of other members of the family. The leader of his own team was obviously ruthless. Even when he was fighting against Chaldor, the opponent never showed this magic. The magic power in Riveria's body surged wildly, and her eyes emitted a faint blue light as a result. From a distance, it adds a bit of charm to her. It's a pity that the current situation is not suitable for enjoying this beautiful scenery. Balur seemed to feel the threat to his life from the magic circle under his feet, and his red eyes fixed on Riveria in the distance. That's where the magic runs wild. Without the slightest hesitation, the huge body rushed out like a landslide. During the charge, he did not forget to spit out a few mouthfuls of Zon Blue's flames, but it was a pity that they were all blocked out by the dimension interception arranged by Riveria. In just a few seconds, Balur displayed a speed that didn't match his size at all, and his huge body had already come close to Riveria. It's like the whole sky is falling down. Riveria's eyes remained unchanged, and the magic power stored in the magic circle under her feet bloomed its terrifying color. Balor's body was only a few fingers away from the top of Riveria's head. The distance of just a few fingers here is as insurmountable as the punishment of God. In the place where there was no leverage in the air, this soaring beam of light pushed Balor back bit by bit after all. At the same time, the hard outer skin on Balor's abdomen began to fall off, revealing the bright red flesh inside. Riveria's magical energy kept tearing at Balor's body, and the wound was bloody in the blink of an eye. Roar. With Balor's painful roar, the last layer of protection in his abdomen was torn off. The violent magical energy poured into Balor's body like a flood, rampaging. The originally burly body swelled at a speed visible to the naked eye. Like a balloon, the more it blows up, the bigger it gets, and the opponent's body touches the rock walls on both sides. The energy in the body seems to have accumulated to a limit. Like a taut string, the difference is only a little external force that can break the balance. Do it. Controlling excessive magic power, Riveria had a painful expression on her face, and even her shouts became much hoarse. The teammates around who had adjusted their state had already made their preparations. After hearing Riveria's order, various attacks hit Balur. Balur, who has no power to fight back in midair, is the best target, and this target is very large, so there is no need to worry about missing the target. Riveria also did this to share some experience with her companions. Participating in the 49th floor Lord Balor's crusade is a feat enough for low-level adventurers to upgrade. In midair, the energy in Balor's body completely broke through the limit of endurance, and his body exploded into countless flesh and blood. The scene was very bloody at one point, but it turned into black smoke in midair and dissipated again. Only a huge magic stone taller than a person hit the ground heavily, leaving a deep hole in the hard ground. It's easier than I thought. Seeing the magic stone fall to the ground, Riveria breathed a sigh of relief. My own mana consumption is even more terrifying than expected. It seems that it is better to use it less in the future. If this shot is fired, the opponent cannot be killed, and he has no strength to continue to resist. However, after solving the floor master, there is no need to worry about safety issues for the time being. Several members in charge of backup quickly cleaned up the huge magic stone, and almost half of the magic power in Riveria's body was recovered. The companions of the expedition team were reorganized, and the mighty team marched towards the 50th floor. The 50th floor is a safe floor. After entering this floor, everyone in the expedition team was relieved, and they all wanted to lie on the ground and rest for a while. Even if the 49th floor of the main floor is defeated, it is safe, but it is true that this kind of safe floor is more likely to make people feel at ease. There is no depressing feeling that monsters will jump out at any time. Master Riveria, our supplies are almost exhausted, and the supporters' load is almost reaching their limit. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 51 Forced to Work Overtime. Lord Riveria, our supplies are almost exhausted, and the supporters' loads are almost at their limit. Joan, who was in charge of the logistics, came to report to Riveria just after the tent was set up and the pots were buried for cooking. Situation. Although usually an introverted child, Joan's management skills are not bad. Coupled with the fact that she is particularly good at defensive magic, Riveria asked the other party to lead the logistics work. I see, the goal of this expedition has been achieved. Although she still has strength, the rest of the expedition team is almost at the limit. Only a few LV5 adventurers are in better condition, mainly because the expedition team has been tense due to the non-stop fighting, which makes them extremely tired now. Just like the crusade not long ago, if Riveria hadn't been vigilant about her surroundings, their expedition team would probably be downsizing. How about this? You guys rest here for a while, and I'll go deep and look at the situation alone. After finally climbing to this level, I can't go back without even looking at it. As for Riveria, as a LV7, it is not too dangerous to go on an adventure alone. If you act alone, maybe it will be smoother. After all, there is no need to be distracted from protecting other people. But, if it's just you, Joan said with a hesitant expression. It would be too unreliable to let the head of the family go on an adventure in the depths alone. Oda, what are you talking about? Isn't it the level of commons, exercise? Just let me act with you, and I can also serve as your supporter by the way. It sounds good, so it's decided. What's the problem with you and Karina, Joan? Please, don't worry, I will definitely protect the companions of the expedition team. Joan clenched her fist swearing. Then leave it to you. At this time, Olali, after Erebus failed, the remaining members of the Dark faction gathered together. Those guys from the Astria family are really domineering, chasing after me and biting me every day. Huh, the trash who was suppressed by that guy Erebus and couldn't even lift his head up. What kind of goddess of justice, it's so ridiculous. We have to figure out a way to help those guys remember our horror. No matter what, we must retain our vitality. We must teach those stupid adventurers a profound lesson, otherwise I will not be able to swallow this breath. What do you think of Actor? The remnants of the Dark faction gathered in a cold alley, and this is the only place in Olali where they can take a short breath. Among the crowd, Olivas Actor, known as the white-haired ghost, nodded in agreement. Although he was not happy about being hit by the Dark faction, but after the defeat of those powerful Dark faction, he was able to become a top combat power even at LV3. This feeling is really good. He even felt that it was not a bad thing to kill the powerful of the Dark faction. Relying on our current strength is definitely not enough. Then rely on the dungeon. Think of a way to beat him. It's a gift from the monster, it sounds like a trick. How about choosing the 27th floor? According to the time of the Saul family's expedition, the floor master is almost about to be refreshed. That's right, the more people there are, the more lively it is. This time, we must make a big noise. As expected, they are all powerful subordinates of the Dark faction. A bad idea was formed in a few words. Floors 25, 26, and 27 are connected together, where more monsters can gather. Even Faith Barner, the floor master, has been counted by them. After making up their minds to make things big, this group of Dark faction guys went completely crazy. With Faith Barna, whose water combat strength reached LV6, those weak adventurers would have no strength left to resist. That's the decision. Let's start to act, and prepare for a big fight, little ones. Oh. The group raised their fists excitedly, as if they had seen the moment when the plan was successful. At the same time, in the residence of the Saul family, Vigus, who was fishing in the backyard, was caught in her beloved nest. A pair of dead fish eyes looked at Althea resentfully. Even though I gave you a place to live in, you actually plotted against me. Okay, I have something important to ask you this time. Quote. Vigus rolled her eyes angrily, and just stared at Saul without saying a word. It seems that he wants to express his dissatisfaction with his eyes. It's a pity that this is completely ineffective against Saul's thick skin. Did you see this child? I want you to accompany her to the dungeon. Don't you like dungeons too? Saul pushed Aegina behind him. Why don't I remember that I said I liked that place? Vigus raised her eyes and swept Aegina up and down, but she didn't refuse directly. They have already caught her directly, so there is no option to refuse right now. She is lazy, not stupid. He escaped the expedition, but he didn't escape the fate of bringing newcomers. No, am I a newcomer too? Vigus suddenly realized that this was for the sake of embarrassing the young man. However, she has indeed been to the dungeon many times. It was not long after Althea moved to her next door. Hearing Althea say that the dungeon is full of depressing and dead environment, Vigus instantly felt moved. For this reason, she even thought of going to the underground city to settle down. It's just that her level is not high. Just as she, excitedly, entered the dungeon, she could only hear the continuous noise of monsters and adventurers on the upper floor. She didn't like that place very much. Chapter 52 Resurrection. Let alone settling down, Wei Gussie didn't even have the intention to stay for a while longer. But in order to enter the deep layer, she really worked hard for a while. It even reached LV2 in just a few months, and the speed even surpassed that of a fighting madman like Kled. This shows Wei Gussie's amazing talent. It's just that after being promoted to LV2, looking at the attribute value whose promotion speed has slowed down, Vigus feels that the few passions have been burned, and it's starting to be bad again. What should I do? It's enough to let this one get acquainted with the dungeon. Normally, you just need to help her hold the battle. Saul didn't arrange too many tasks for Vigus, after all, he also understood the character of the other party. Going too far is too late. If Wei Gussie really messes up and becomes the shopkeeper, it will be difficult to handle. Even if you say that, my understanding of the dungeon is limited to the 17th floor. That's true, then I'll think of a way. Saul crossed his hands on his chest with a distressed face. If Wei Gussie alone is not enough, then he can only find a way to find foreign aid. Speaking of which, there are only a few family members who are close to Eulalie and her. Most of them are partnerships. You don't need to think too long, and you don't have many suitable options. Sure enough, it had to be the children of Astria's family. With 3 LV4s as high-end combat power, it should be more than enough to bring a newcomer. No, bring Wigus with him, otherwise his bargaining with Wigus for so long before was not in vain. I'll find a few more people, and you'll be fine with me when the time comes. Quote. It seems that there will be more people traveling together. What's going on? Since there are other candidates, shouldn't she be excluded? It suddenly felt like the situation was getting worse. Then it's settled. Yes. Although she agreed, Vigus still had a face full of reluctance, and calmly slapped Saul's hand off her shoulder. Saul smiled indifferently, as long as he agreed. Otherwise, he would have to ask Althea to be Aegina's guide, and that would be too much talent. In the future, we can no longer send everyone out on expeditions, we must keep a few at home. If you encounter this situation again, you will not encounter a situation where no one is available. Miss Wigus, please give me your advice. Aina had already moved to Wigus' side. The faint black air seemed to have no effect on her, and the dragon's blood made her immune to it. Please don't talk to me. Seriously, it's rare to be alone for a while. Facing Aegina's enthusiasm, Vigus only felt as uncomfortable as ants crawling on her body. She doesn't like to get along with such enthusiastic people. It's just God's mission. Vigus was forced to end her solitary life, and began her journey of raising a baby with no way out. I understand, you want my child to bring you Aegina sauce for a few days, right? In the residence of the Astria family, Saul sat on the sofa in the living room looking like a gentleman. Opposite is the real owner of this place, Astoria. But the other party didn't care about Thor's random actions. Early in the morning, the other party found her residence and told her about Aegina. Of course, Saul didn't say that the other party was his child, for fear of irritating Astoria. However, the smell on the other party's body was similar to her own, which still caught Astria's attention. But it was just paying attention, and was fooled by Saul with the reason of being a half-dragon. Just treat it as repaying the favor you owed me before. That's not necessary, it just so happens that Elise and the others are also taking newcomers on an adventure. Astoria gently rubbed Agina's head. This well-behaved little guy was in line with her wishes. If the other party hadn't joined the Saul family, she couldn't help but want to fight for it. Agina and Vigus temporarily joined the adventures of the Astria family, and started a life of going out early and returning late every day. It is also good, at least Saul sees Vigus more times. It was not uncommon to not see each other for a week before. After Agina started her adventure, Thor finally let himself go. In the past few days, she has been immersed in Aina's gentle hometown, and she doesn't even care about Olali's situation. In the end, the Loki family sent someone to find them. Finn wants to invite his family to participate in the crusade against the gathering place of the Dark Faction, and needs to know when Riveria and the expedition team will return. I really want to help, but you also know that my child has already gone on an expedition. Saul shrugged helplessly. He didn't care about things and didn't know much about these things. Finn could only return disappointed. However, Saul is quite interested in those evil gods of the Dark Faction, and they are all villains, so he doesn't have to be polite to them. I'm worried that I can't find the stepping stones to build Valoran. Now it's done, and it's here. It doesn't matter if Riveria doesn't come back in time, but there is an LV8 Althea by her side. What do the members of the Dark Faction say? Sweeping. In order to keep an eye on the actions of the Loki family and the others, Thor even asked Agina about the situation of the Astria family every day. As the family of the goddess of justice who maintains the order of Orario, if Loki wants to take action against the Dark Faction, he will definitely win over the opponent's combat power. He could also relive the good times in the god realm with Astoria, and the two gods once had a tendency to rekindle their old relationship. It's just that the children of the other party's family looked at Saul a little unkindly. The main reason is that Liu's gaze is a bit unfriendly. This pure elf has a little resistance to these impure things. It still takes a little time to get used to. Chapter 53 The Battlefield Reversed. Layer 27 inches. A large number of adventurers are concentrated on this floor, making this place far more lively than usual. Throughout the year, the territory that originally belonged to Anne Faith Barner, the floor master, has never been so lively. On the edge of the high cliff, the large forces of the Dark Faction occupy a position that is easy to defend and difficult to attack. They have assembled early, and the monster gifts needed for the operation are already being prepared. Their preparations were exceptionally smooth. Not only were the monsters from the three nearby floors, but even Anne Faith Barna was also lured over to attack the adventurers caught in the trap. The plan of Valletta, actor and other cadres is to use monsters to slaughter the adventurers below, and then mix them with their own corpses to deceive the eyes of the guild. In order to achieve this goal, they sacrificed the few combat power of the Dark Faction. It's all about recovering one day and letting Orario once again fall into the rule of the Dark Faction. The truth of the nightmare that caused this tragedy is just a way for the Dark Faction to survive. So far, everything is going in the direction they planned. The monsters kept attacking the temporary defense line formed by the adventurers, and the uncoordinated formation was crumbling. The number of monsters presented by the monsters was really too much, and there was an Faith Barna watching them in the water. Finally, under the blow of the dragon's breath after an Faith Barna rushed out of the water, Warrior, who was at the forefront maintaining the front line, fell down. Several therapists chased after the milk but couldn't get it up. It's now. All the little ones give it to me. After paying attention to the top for so long, Valletta grasped the opportunity precisely. With the crazy roar of the adventurers from the Dark Faction, countless figures surged up from all directions. The already precarious line of defense collapsed in an instant. Unlike monsters, these Dark Faction adventurers know how to fight against people better. As soon as he broke into the formation, the only targets in his eyes were mage and treatment. Fragile demons such as mage and archer become fish on the chopping board when they get close. Everyone else was forgotten by them in the morning. As long as the back row is cut off, the remaining warriors are the fat in the mouths of monsters. After the first deserter appeared, the entire front collapsed completely. Even if there are still adventurers who want to resist, but under the shove of the crowd, their own thoughts have no meaning. In just over 10 minutes, the ground on the 27th floor was already full of corpses. A mountain of corpses and a sea of blood spread out on the 27th floor. The rushing waterfall was stained red with blood, and the remains were scattered all over the ground after being gnawed by monsters until they couldn't see their shapes clearly. Seeing that the victory is just around the corner, the morale of the dark faction is getting higher and higher, and the strength of waving their weapons is also a little bit stronger. Under the command of Valletta, the adventurers of the dark faction quickly gathered again, forming a solid line of defense to block the entrance of the 27th floor. Completely block the retreat of those deserters. Behind him are countless monsters and floor masters. In an instant, a sense of despair surged into the hearts of these adventurers. Even if they wanted to break the boat, most of the remote occupations were wiped out in the previous raids. It is impossible to organize an effective attack on the front of the dark faction. At this moment, Valletta suddenly felt a sense of urgency in her heart. As if something dangerous was about to happen. Why? Obviously the plan went smoothly. What is this? The doubts in her heart were quickly answered, and Valletta suddenly felt a burst of weakness in her body. It was as if the power had been emptied all of a sudden. Several accomplices around turned their heads suspiciously, and before they could ask any questions, the same feeling fell on them. It's like going from a big guy to a thin dog all of a sudden. This feeling of powerlessness made them extremely uncomfortable. It was Enwei who had a problem. The clever Valletta immediately understood the crux of the problem, just why this problem occurred. In the dungeon, she didn't know what was happening to Olali at this time. Several beams of light that were sent back to the heavens appeared on the ground, just like when Erebus sent back the other gods on the seventh day of death. Even the number of light beams returned this time is even more than that caused by Erebus before. Members of countless dark factions turned into powerless commons in an instant. The situation of the battle was turned upside down in an instant. Originally, they were able to defend this place safe and sound, relying on a companion's ability to expel monsters. After the favor disappeared, their skills also failed. Many monsters seemed to have a tacit understanding, and looked up at them at the same time. Even the floor master was the same, and Faith Barner jumped out of the water, his huge eyes fixed on their position. This is the essence of bullying that is engraved in the bones of monsters. In their eyes, members of the dark faction who are not threatening are more delicious than those hard bones. All of a sudden, these people from the dark faction fell into the target of public criticism. Terrifying energy gathered around in Faith Barna's mouth, and the members of the dark faction scattered around quickly. However, the losses were still heavy, especially without the blessing of God's grace. Any attack released by Faith Barna at will would have killed them. Although I don't understand what's wrong with the dark faction, but watching the opponent's formation being disrupted, the monsters are also attacking each other. The flustered adventurers suddenly regained their spirits, and their desire for life made them forget their fear. The battlefield instantly became more chaotic, with monsters, dark factions, and adventurers organized by the guild fighting together. At this moment, it is impossible to recognize whether it is an enemy or a friend. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 54 Perfect Infiltration. What should we do now? The cadres of several dark factions gathered together tacitly. Compared with other people, these high-level ones still have the blessing of their own attributes. After all, the level is high, and the strengthened body is their own. Go to the 28th floor, the safe floor below the water capital. Valletta directed her confidants to rush to the next floor. Before you figure out the situation, you must first focus on your own safety. As for the other companions, when disaster is imminent, who will be their companions? There must be something wrong with their gods. Although they really don't want to admit it, their plan should have been seen through. Chances are someone is waiting at the entrance to the dungeon right now to give them a chance. Instead of going back, it is better to go to the safe floor first, not to mention that it is not easy for them to return to the ground in their current state. After going to the 28th floor to ensure safety, I was thinking about countermeasures. Olali. A few hours ago, in the residence of the Saul family. Althea told Saul in detail the information she had obtained about the dark faction. Although she also came from hearsay, but also after a little investigation and analysis. Accompany me to do a big event. Saul said with a mysterious face. Althea raised her head when she heard the sound, and looked at Saul strangely with her narrowed eyes. As if thinking of something bad. After all, she has been with Saul for so many days, and the god of her own family is the family of Astria besides Aina's family. We even made a trip to Happy Street on the way. And he even took her, a simple little girl with yellow flowers, along with her. Although he was pulled back by himself without giving him a chance to play that day, the atmosphere of Happy Street still taught Althea a deep lesson. The big thing in his mouth can be something important. Should I go to that Happy Street again? May I ask, how much strength should be used to make the other party pass out completely without killing the god of his own? What kind of eyes do you have? I'm talking about serious things. Although Althea's squinting eyes could hardly see the other party's eyes, but the expression had clearly expressed the other party's meaning. She is despising herself. Thor quickly argued for himself, but unfortunately the effect was not obvious. It can only be proved by actions. Grabbing Althea's wrist, she ran out with him. Although I don't understand what the other party means, but it's not in the direction of Happy Street, so follow along and have a look. The two soon left the downtown area of Olali, getting closer and closer to the remote edge. This is a cemetery in Orario, where many adventurers who died in previous battles are still buried. This is where the evil gods of the Dark Faction stay. Althea also learned about the situation here when collecting information. After the defeat of Erebus, the main force of the Dark Faction was almost concentrated in this place. What are you doing here? Then I'm going to get ready to go in, so I'll trouble you to cover me when the time comes. Get in. Before Althea was surprised, Saul had already started to act. Althea chuckled lightly, and trotted to catch up with him. This god is really to my liking. Stop talking nonsense and do more. Thor kicked open the door, and two drunken adventurers walked towards him. Alcohol has blurred their consciousness, and Saul is like a mosaic in their eyes at this time. Even divided into several. With this level of defense, there seems to be no difference between having and not having it. You are so weak, I will not be polite if you are moving forward. The two adventurers stretched out their hands to grab Saul, and the moment they raised their hands, a figure appeared among them in an instant. The two of them didn't even have time to see the attacker's appearance clearly, and the crisp feet had already landed on their stomachs. The two of them didn't hold on for even a moment, and flew upside down in a blink of an eye. The body that flew upside down penetrated the walls on both sides, and the loud noise attracted the attention of the people inside. Althea, you're making too much noise. Saul complained softly. Althea didn't even bother to talk to the other party, and the guy who broke into the Dark Faction's lair single-handedly, how could he have the face to say that he made a big noise? The next moment, dozens of fully armed adventurers rushed out of the room. Althea's body turned into an afterimage, and the long sword at her waist appeared in her hand. In order to hide her identity, Althea generally only uses hand knives and swordsmanship against the enemy in battle. Anyway, if you can use your iconic magic, you don't need it. But this kind of trivial matter doesn't matter. To deal with this kind of little Carla Rice, it doesn't matter what you use to fight against the enemy. Just keep the movement around this building. Perhaps it was because the adventurers who disliked the Dark Faction rushed out too slowly, and Althea, who was blocking the entrance, quickly broke into the room. Screams, cursing, all kinds of roars sounded one after another. This child has been suppressed for too long. Saul touched his head in embarrassment, but still chased after him quickly. It would be bad if someone came in from the outside to help. The current room is much safer than the courtyard. Where Althea is, that's the safest place for Orario. Soon, Saul followed Althea to the deepest room, and the corridor behind him was full of corpses of members of the Dark Faction. Everyone had a sword wound that was not deep and not shallow at the vital point, and their lives were harvested precisely. Perfect dive. There was no look of fear or pain on his face even before death. What a mercy compared to the viciousness they have done. Chapter 55 Ionia is calling. Yo! Long time no see, evil gods. As usual, Saul kicked open the door with a big foot, and inside was the God of Darkness faction. In order to allow the subordinates to carry out operations safely, most of the Shendu of the Dark Faction are concentrated here. This is convenient for me to catch them all at once, otherwise it would be a big project just to find them. Just like a wolf seeing meat, its eyes shine. Noticing the greedy eyes of the other party, several evil gods took 2 steps back in fear. Saul, how did you come here? Of course I'm looking for you. It took me a lot of effort to discover this place. Thor's big mouth opened, but in the eyes of the evil gods, it was even more terrifying. Who are we, evil god? Why are you acting like you want to eat us? You dare to come to this place alone, you are very brave. I have braver ones, and who said I came alone? Saul had a mocking smile on his face. As soon as the words fell, a tall figure came in from the door behind Saul. Click. The door was closed, and Althea stood quietly beside the door. The only way out is directly blocked, so that there is no worry that someone will escape. Of course, in front of Althea, these gods without divine power have little chance of escaping. However, in order to avoid some troubles, this necessary measure is quite useful. Well, let's start with you. He grabbed the evil god at the front and lifted him up with one hand. According to the usual practice, the divine power in the opponent's body was stripped out. The progress of Bandle City is 83.9%, 71.4% minus 83.9%, the number of remaining summons, 1 inch. The progress of Bandle City is 99.9%, 83.9% minus 99.9%, and the number of remaining summons, 0, all yodels. Bandle City is finished with construction, what's next? The voice of parallel consciousness suddenly sounded in Soul's mind, and the rest of the progress had already been made up just by absorbing the 2 gods. Targon. No, choose among Demacia, Ionia, Noxus, Piltover, Zon, and Bilgewater. No, then let me choose whatever I want, even if Targon is not good, at least give me a Freljord or Shurima. Saul complained unwillingly. Please trust my professionalism, why don't you come? Hateful. Choose or not. How about I choose? No, give me Ionia. Although Ionia was beaten black and blue by Noxus during the war, it didn't prevent the land from having a lot of talents. Heroes are not only about quantity, but also about quality. Not to mention a powerful mage like Shindella, there are also many heroes of the Vastaya tribe. And there are no 2 big bosses, the Apocalypse Karlma and Soraka, the healers are very precious in Orari. Look at Amd of the Dean Kite family, 1 person supports a family. Thinking of that child, Saul was a little angry, that G old man Dean Kate was really lucky. At the beginning, I obviously thought about intercepting the other party, but I was almost lucky. But when his own Soraka comes out, little Amide is not worth mentioning. Soraka is Targon's. The cold words of the parallel consciousness won Saul's dream. Before he could question it, Ionia's choice had already been determined. It's too late to regret. But why the hell? Ionia cannot live without Soraka, just like the West cannot live without Jerusalem. And why is Soraka not from Ionia? When did she secretly change her nationality behind my back? Countries with divine grade combat effectiveness will appear after all other countries have been established, so don't use these crooked brains. Tisk, if I knew it, I might as well choose Zon and Bilgewater. What about my useless call in Bandle City before? Saul found the blind spot. That's the number of summons for the Yordles. After the construction of Bandle City is completed, all Yordles can be summoned, so there is no need for the number of summons. Hateful. He couldn't find a word of rebuttal. Greed is not enough to swallow elephants. Zon is also full of talents, and there is a wind girl as a guarantee, while Bilgewater has a deep sea titan and a sea beast priest. Nothing is better than Ionia without Soraka. Forget it, there are so many beauties in Ionia. There is no way to change the choice, Saul can only comfort himself in this way. Then work harder to fill up Ionia. Thor was motivated, and looked at the gods as if there was a flame burning in his eyes. It took so long to communicate with parallel consciousness in my mind, but it was only a short moment in the real world. Throwing aside the evil god in his hand, Thor began to enjoy his feast again. With Althea sweeping aside, this group of evil gods had no ability to resist at all. Like captive animals, one by one was pulled out and turned into a delicious meal for Saul. Ionia's progress is 16.1%, 0% minus 16.1%, the number of remaining summons, 2 inches. The progress of Ionia is 91.8%, 71.4% minus 83.9%, the number of remaining summons, 7 inches. Chapter 56. It's so cool, it's so cool. Saul laughed wantonly, and the progress bar that was almost up to the end put him in a good mood. Unexpectedly, even Ionia's progress is almost full at one time. Most of the depression caused by losing Soraka dissipated immediately. Someone is here, Master Saul. Is it an adventurer from the Dark Faction? Probably not. I feel that many good adventurers are approaching here, and they are divided into many teams. Alfia's face was calm, and she didn't take those people outside at all. I just don't want to reveal my identity. Well, my goal has almost been achieved, so let's do it this time. Saul walked out of the room with a chuckle. Alfia grabbed the other's arm, and the two disappeared instantly. Just as Saul left with the help of Alfia, Finn led the strong members of the Loki family into this stronghold on the back. The ground covered with corpses hit their eyeballs. Finn had been able to feel a throbbing pain in his thumb before, but suddenly it returned to normal. Could it be that the terrifying enemy left? Finn never doubted his thumb, he had a hunch that he could handle it very well. Before he had time to think about it, Finn took 2 quick steps and pushed open the gate of the stronghold. It was a mess inside, and there were more corpses than outside, but none of the evil god in the original information was seen. The beam of returning light that I saw earlier really appeared after these evil gods were eliminated. Why did that happen, and who on earth wiped out so many members of the Dark Faction in one go? The family members he stayed behind to observe the situation didn't pass any news to him. The next moment, members of the Ganesha family and the Astoria family also arrived outside the stronghold. The situation here is all seen by them. Have you dealt with those people? The speed is really fast enough. No. It was already like this when we came here. Finn spread his hands helplessly. If so, is the plan a success? What should I do next? Go to the 27th floor. Since these evil gods have been returned to the heavens, those Dark Faction adventurers who did evil should still be trapped in the dungeon. Finn's mind was working fast. This is unclaimed credit, and I don't know how the guild will arrange it then. But they have to fight for themselves, and they use members of those dark factions to record their achievements. Inside the dungeon, the expeditionary army of the Saul family is slowly advancing towards the ground. In order to let Riveria explore alone, they stayed on the 49th floor for a while. Before the supplies were completely exhausted, they still set foot on the return journey. The speed of the return trip was not slow, and maybe it was the return of the heart, and there was no need for Riveria to urge them. The members of the expedition team were all very motivated. Even more positive than when it came. Get ready, let's take a short rest in the underwater city on the 28th floor, and then return to the ground in one breath. Hi. The voice of the response was exceptionally loud, and the few people at the front of the line couldn't help but quicken their pace again. In the blink of an eye, the entrance to the city of water appeared in front of everyone. The first few people rushed in quickly. And at the next moment, a violent explosion resounded from the water city, which was supposed to be a safe floor. The 2 people in the front row couldn't avoid it, and were instantly shaken out by the shock wave of the explosion. There were burn marks all over his body, and blood ran down his forehead and covered his entire cheek. There is an enemy attack. Lan comes to cover, Karina leads the team. Riveria reacted in an instant, and temporarily acted as a therapist to treat the injuries of the 2 wounded. The injury in the eyes made the screams of the 2 of them hoarse. The team immediately calmed down after a short period of turmoil. Karina, who took over the management, commanded Mage to launch a magic bombardment towards the city of water. At this time, everyone in the expedition team was already furious. Regardless of the identity of his attacker, if he launches an attack, he must be prepared to pay the price. After the whole expedition, none of the companions was injured so badly, and the car overturned on the way back. How can they accept this? There were a lot of screams mixed in with the magic explosion. Obviously the effect of the bombing was very obvious. Stop attacking, come with me. After more than 10 minutes, the long magic bombardment gradually stopped. Klein and the others, who had long been unable to hold back, charged towards the city of water, and Riveria quickly applied a layer of defensive magic to them. Kled, riding Scar, rushed to the security floor. The first thing that catches the eye is a few pieces of broken bodies, and it is not clear what parts it is for a while. There was also a strange smell of barbecue in the air, but these did not arouse Kled's interest. With the help of Scar's keen sense of smell, he quickly found a few survivors in a panic behind a rock wall. They were crowded together like beggars, their bodies were covered with wounds, and the torn clothes could not even completely cover their bodies. Facing these enemies who had no desire to fight at all, Kled was immediately discouraged. He and a few people around him tied them up and brought them to Riveria together. Valletta, you dare to attack our expedition team with such a small group of people. How courageous you are. Among the captives was Valletta, and Riveria recognized him at a glance. The opponent can be considered a respectable figure in the Dark faction. But why did they suddenly attack their expedition team? The Thor family is not their main enemy. After all, they choose to launch the expedition at this time, and there is also a reason why they don't want to get involved in their battle. Chapter 57 Survivor. Although Valletta is a cadre of the Dark faction, he should have no problem with his brain, so he can't figure it out. Come all the way to attack their Saul family's expeditionary force, unless something is wrong. And it doesn't look like a person can attack successfully at this point. Valletta, this guy gave her a strange feeling too. To put it impolitely, why does she feel so weak now, like a common person without grace? After confirming that her companion's life was not in danger, Riveria calmed down a lot, and carefully observed the prisoners in front of her. No matter how you look at it, these people look like a defeated army. What happened to Olali during the time she was away? Riveria frowned, but she didn't worry too much. Next to my god, there is Althea who is stronger than me, so I don't need to worry about safety. Without self-restraint, my own god should be having fun now. Thinking of Saul, Riveria couldn't help but a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. But soon converged. Leave the interrogation job to Kenan, a ninja who is truly omnipotent in some ways. Soon, the other party pried open his mouth, and a lot of recent information about Olali was spit out. These people committed a massacre on the 27th floor. Looking at the information Kenan collected, even through a few words of understanding, Riveria seemed to see the scene of corpses strewn across the ground on the 27th floor. These people are really hopeless. There was no need to save them, if it wasn't for handing them over to the guild for trial. She even wanted to execute these demons on the spot. Lan, take someone to watch them. Bobby, Veronica, Kret, you follow me to the 27th floor, and the others repair as soon as possible. Riveria quickly gave a few instructions, followed by trotting towards the 27th floor with a few people. Maybe it's too late, but what if there are still people alive? Several people rushed to the 27th floor, and the hellish scene shocked their eyeballs. There are not even a few complete corpses to be seen, and it seems that they have been eaten by monsters. It's not right, it's very wrong here. Ignoring the grief for these victims, Riveria felt a strange feeling in her heart. This place is full of weirdness. It is obvious that Valletta said that they attracted monsters from the 3 floors nearby, even the floor owner. Even if the adventurers are all dead, it shouldn't be impossible to see a monster. Even the corpses have been eaten so much, the monsters that eat the corpses. Moreover, those adventurers should get rid of a few monsters, right? Where are the magic stones? How could the materials dropped by monsters be so clean? Even Anne Faith Barner is gone. Could that big guy hide and sleep underwater so quietly? Was it suppressed by someone? Could it be that the guild sent another person to the rescue, or did another group of forces clean up the battlefield? Look there is still a living person. Bobby stretched out his finger and pointed to the distance, only to see a female elf in white was slowly moving while supporting the wall. The few people didn't hesitate much, and caught up with each other within a few steps. It was only when Riveria got closer that she could see the person on the other side. The other party's eyes were full of dead silence, walking forward like a walking dead. The clothes on his body were only a few pieces of dusty gray-black rags, and there were still many dried blood stains on the clothes, and even the opponent's body had a strong smell of blood. Ragged clothes can't even block all the spring. Although she felt that something was wrong with the other party, Riveria wrapped the other party with her cloak without hesitation. The child's condition is very poor, but it is a blessing in misfortune to survive. Fairways. Wake up, Fairways, how are you doing? The other party was the head of the Dionysus family, a second-level adventurer. In order to communicate with the family members, Riveria did some research on the leaders of other family members, not to mention that the other party was an elf, so she recognized him immediately. Feeling the other party's weakness, Riveria hugged the other party into her arms and patted the other party's back lightly. The gentle movement seemed to make Fairways respond, and the eyes gradually became brighter. How do you feel? Riveria smiled gently. You are Master Riveria. Fairways raised her head weakly, and when she saw Riveria, there was obvious surprise on her face. It's all right now, you are Felvis from the Dionysus Familia, can you tell me what happened here? After resting for a while, Fairway's consciousness has gradually recovered. The scene she saw on the 27th floor before gradually reappeared in her memory. The terrifying memory made the other party cover his head, with a terrified expression on his face, and cold sweat slipped down the side of his face. Don't be afraid, we will protect you here. Monsters are everywhere, everyone is dead, all dead. It seems that something was asked. The other party seemed to reject this memory. But this is also normal. After all, just by looking at the situation here, you can tell that it will not be a friendly memory. In order to let the other party recover as soon as possible, Riveria chose to rest on the spot for a while. Bobby and Veronica were arranged to guard nearby, and of course they were all within Riveria's sight. Stay where she can get support at any time. While they were resting, a group of adventurers quickly passed through the 18th floor of the safe floor, with no intention of staying at all, and continued to move deeper. A team composed entirely of advanced adventurers, the monsters in this place can't hinder their progress at all. Soon, there was a sound of footsteps at the entrance from the 26th to the 27th floor. Riveria immediately picked up her staff, called Bobby and the others behind her, and handed Fairways to their care. After seeing the face of the visitor, Riveria stopped her vigilance. Chapter 58. The team that came was led by Finn, and Riveria also saw some members of the Astria family and the Ganesha family in the team. This is a coalition. If they came to rescue the adventurers who died on the 27th floor, then something is wrong. This only shows that the monsters here were not disposed of by the guild. Where did the floor master and monsters go? Could it be that the common rider who happened to pass by showed kindness to the floor master and got rid of it? Or the one-punch man who stopped by to pick up discounted groceries? Rivelia, why are you here? Finn looked at the acquaintance opposite in surprise. We happened to be here when we came back from our expedition. I also caught some guys from the Dark Faction. It's in the City of Water on the 28th floor. Do you want to go and see it? That would be wonderful, I was still worried that they would split up. Finn's smile was a bit forced. From the very beginning to the present, he didn't get any credit for it. Whether it was those evil god or the adventurers of the Dark Faction, they were all taken first. How could Riveria and the others be so lucky that they were caught by the remnants of the Dark Faction just on the way back? Those people were like throwing themselves into a trap, and they were sent directly to their door. It was delivered to the door without any resistance. They were so sweet, I cried to death. If it was sent to me, I would cry even more. When Riveria took Finn and the others to the City of Water on the 28th floor, the group quickly came to Valletta and the others. Looking at Finn who wanted to come by himself, Valletta seemed to guess something for a moment. Could it be that Finn has seen through their plan long ago? So the other party attacked their camp, now come to catch them. Finn, you're a scum. From our point of view, you're as vicious as a devil. You never came to the 27th floor to save people that day. As soon as you heard the news, you led this group of people to attack our Lord God. Quote. Valletta yelled at Finn angrily. Most of her guesses were correct. At that time, Finn had indeed seen through the attempts of Valletta and others. When he realized that the defense of the enemy camp must become weak, Finn directly chose to have a wave of justice with the Dark Faction. On the premise that he could no longer support in time, he decisively abandoned his colleagues on the 27th floor. Immediately afterwards, Finn raided all alternate locations of the Dark Faction stronghold. As long as this plan to change homes can be successfully implemented, it will definitely play a decisive role in the battle situation. The balance between the Dark Faction and the Guild will be completely broken, and the banner of victory will completely fall to justice. The only thing that went wrong was, what the hell, they were given the upper hand. Also got there twice. Facing Valletta's groundless accusations, Finn can only be blamed helplessly. A group of dying people are just incompetent and furious. The main reason is that he can't let the Loki family make a trip in vain. The credit for the captives is gone, so he must find a way to get some out. Valletta misunderstood just right, so that when she is captured and brought back to the guild can also let the guild know that he has done something. After all, Finn's goal is to become the benchmark figure of the little people, and prestige and achievements are things he must strive for. He needs it here more than anyone. It seems that a lot of things really happened to Olili when I was away. Riveria sighed softly. So many things have happened to Owlery, and she doesn't know how her god is doing now. Finn and the others were busy escorting Valletta and the others back to Orario, and Riveria simply got on their ride and followed suit. There is no need for them to do anything on the return trip, just follow along and it will be over. What's more, he had to go back to the guild to receive the reward, wiped out so many members of the Dark Faction, and saved the only survivor on the 27th floor, the head of the Dionysus family. Does the guild not give some rewards? This expedition really paid off. Returning to Orario, Riveria handed over the captives and Fervis to the people of the guild. By the way, I dealt with the spoils of this operation. Except for the floor master Balor's magic stone and some forging materials, all other harvests were exchanged for Farley and the guild. When everyone returned to the family, everyone had more or less bags hanging on their bodies. It's full of Farleys, and the jingle of the bells as you walk is especially pleasant. When the adventurers along the way looked at them, they all had envious eyes on their faces. We're back. Pushing open the door of the family members, I thought that no one lived there for a long time, and the family members would be a little messy when they came back. But the reality seems to be completely different from what they imagined. There was no such thing as mess, the whole yard was well kept, and the family members were bustling with activity, and laughter could be heard standing at the door. This is our home. What's the situation? Mr. Saul hired someone outside to clean up the family. I heard a voice inside. Could it be that Master Saul found someone new when we were away? It can't be a woman of unknown origin, what I heard is a woman's voice. The companions of the expedition tilted their heads and chatted softly. Riveria heard these words in her ears, especially the woman of unknown origin touched her nerves very much. No, there is still Alfea at home, so it is impossible for someone to steal the house. Even though she thought so, Riveria still accelerated the speed of arranging work. Several people brought the loot and Farley into the warehouse, and the rest disbanded on the spot. But guessing that there is a good show to watch, how could these people just leave like this? An infinite spirit seemed to emerge from the originally tired body, and the heart of gossip was ignited, and one by one quietly followed behind with their heads poked. Master Saul. We're back. After knocking on the door twice quickly, Riveria pushed the door open and entered. Chapter 59 Feet Catching R******. Master Saul. We're back. He knocked on the door twice in quick succession, and before waiting for a response from inside, the soft obscene voice in his ears made Riveria lose her mind rarely. Push the door straight in. In the hall, Saul was slumped on the sofa with a face full of intoxication, and he was embracing a fox-human girl. There were 9 white fluffy tails behind her. In the open space in front of her, a heroic and beautiful girl is dancing lightly, with strange weapons flying around her like arms and fingers. And not far from the living room, there was a woman he had never seen before. The opponent was surrounded by 3 dark purple magic balls, and Riveria could feel a terrifying magical energy from the opponent. It was dark magic rife with negativity. Yo! Riveria-chan, you are finally back, thanks for your hard work. The sound of the door opening broke the atmosphere in the hall, and Saul immediately noticed Riveria, who pushed the door and entered. With a hint of surprise on his face, he let go of the salty pig's hand on Aries' waist, and enthusiastically opened his arms as if to hug Riveria. It's a pity that his enthusiasm was rejected by the cold elves. It seems that when I was not around, you really lived a life of drunken dreams. Riveria gritted her teeth and said, endless resentment seemed to erupt from her body. Sure enough, this god is already a useless person. I was too naive to expect him. Feeling that the other party's attitude was not very friendly, Saul decisively chose to admit his cowardice, and stood there obediently waiting for the head of his family to speak. Really, shouldn't you introduce these people to me first? Riveria sighed helplessly. Saul's aggrieved look managed to extinguish Riveria's anger. It's like this every time, once I show an angry look, I will show this pitiful look. Too foul. Seeing that Riveria was not so angry, Saul hugged Riveria's shoulder like a snake. The other party raised his eyebrows, but he didn't resist anymore. Hey, This is what I summoned from Roland. This is Ari, Aurelia, and Shindella. Pulling Riveria, he introduced a few people in the hall to her. That's right, they were all the heroes Thor had summoned from Ionia before. It was too quiet in the family before, so he simply summoned these people in advance. It was originally planned to wait for Riveria to return from the expedition before summoning. Your efficiency is quite high. I have only been away for a long time, and you have already summoned 3. Actually, there are 11 of them. A few of them have ventured into the dungeon, and there are 4 Yordles where they live. Quote. Riveria was speechless for a moment, blinking and looking at the other party. I still underestimated him. I didn't expect that Saul was more capable than he imagined. Why are there so many? Didn't you say that building a new world consumes a lot of energy? Hey, I hunted down a lot of evil god. In one breath, this is all the divine power they contributed to me. Saul puffed out his chest proudly, with an expression of waiting for praise. Riveria's brain was running fast, combined with the information collected in the dungeon before, quickly digesting the information Saul said. Is there a possibility that the main god of the family who solved Valletta and the others was his own god? Her suspicions are quickly confirmed, as Saul directly admits. Still they're regretting that he didn't have time to take the spoils of the evil gods. Okay, if the loot is gone, it will be gone. With so many excellent talents you have found, our family only needs to grow steadily. Riveria comforted softly. No, why did it become me comforting Saul? Shouldn't I still be angry now? Riveria suddenly realized that she might have been puaed by the other party. Forget it, you should get used to it by now. After tidying up her mood, Riveria quickly switched to the working state, and briefly communicated with the girls with the momentum of the head of the family. She also understood that Thor summoned excellent geniuses, which had been clearly seen in the previous Yordles. It's just that those Yordles are a little too skinny. Now these people look a lot more normal, and they are all familiar races. Not long after, there was a sudden noise from the yard outside the living room. Riveria walked out of the hall first, and saw a few more strange figures standing in the middle of the yard, surrounded by fellow family members who were watching the excitement, staring at them vigilantly. 4, plus the 3 who had been in the lobby before, and 4 new Yordles. Alright, now we're all newcomers. These are the 7 people Thor summoned from Ionia before: Zed, Akali, Yongan, Ari, Shindella, Aurelia, and Set. These are newcomers to our family, don't be nervous. Riveria broke the silence of the air, and everyone relaxed. You are the head of the family. Could it be that you are stronger than that woman Althea? Seti, who was standing at the front, looked at her curiously. He stared at Riveria with an eager expression, as if he wanted to make 2 moves with her. Set couldn't wait to have a fight with Althea when he was first summoned by Saul. Of course, it was a one-sided beating. Althea was brought down by Seti with a few slashes, and it was she who let the sea go. It was also because of being knocked down by a woman. During this period of time, Seti turned shame into motivation, staying in the dungeon to exercise all day long. And Yon, Akali, and Gia also valued their strength, and each of them joined the ranks of involution. Saul hardly sees them every day. One by one got up earlier than the chickens, and when Saul came back, he had already gone to play games with Ari and the others. It was even more difficult to see than Wei Gussie. Saul didn't dare to let Agina let some of them fight madly. One by one, don't teach your precious daughter badly. If such a gentle child is really brought into a fighting maniac, then he really has no place to cry. The main reason is that the 2 don't seem like good people yet. Forget about Set, the strong murderous aura on Zed and the faint demonic aura on Yongan, and Shindella's dark magic. This is also the reason why the companions of the family will be wary of them at first. Chapter 60. It just so happens that the expedition team is back this time, and we will have a good dinner at Feng Rao's hostess in the evening. No absences are allowed, you know. I'm not going to miss the party, hope to see some guys who can fight. Fighting is not allowed at the party. Can't you think of something else? Let me raise your level first. Saul complained helplessly at the other party. Set, this guy, has been doing this since he arrived in the new world. Nothing else to do but fight and take risks. Not enjoying life at all. Problem children. Riveria stared at Set. This guy is another problem child. Perhaps we can introduce Veronica to each other, and the 2 fighting madmen may have a common language. If it really doesn't work, it's okay to let Kled fight the opponent a few times. But compared to this problematic boy, what Riveria didn't know was that the bigger problematic boy hadn't shown his feet yet. So, there are still some people in this group who don't see it right. Well, you can also describe it as a deadly enemy. Do you think you are very humorous? The two returned to the living room alone, and Riveria listened to Saul briefly introduce the newcomers. But it was these introductions that gave her a headache. It was already very troublesome, but now she felt even more troublesome after hearing what the other party said. This kind of conflict caused by ideas is the most difficult to resolve. It's not that good brothers have turned against each other, maybe they can find a reason to mediate. Fortunately, Thor didn't tell him that there would be a man named Yasuo in the future. There will always be conflicts between people. It's just that the way these heroes deal with conflicts is different from the common people. They really did it to death. If there are too many heroes summoned, there will naturally be bad relations. I haven't encountered this problem before summoning Yordles. After all, Yordles are still quite enthusiastic. Claire, you're right. But Ionia is different. Because of being more free, different thinking and ways of responding to war have made them have many factions in the country. For example, the Balance Sect and Shadow Stream have an endless relationship. Among the people Saul summoned, Akali had the worst relationship with Zed. It is not surprising that two people meet each other anytime, anywhere. For this reason, Saul can only manage Akali and Zed separately first, and try not to let them have the opportunity to meet. And he is already using his brains, trying to find a new family to accommodate these incompatible heroes. He also wanted to know if the god he summoned from Valoran would be able to add favors to common adventurers. It's a pity that this disgusting person's parallel consciousness doesn't give him the chance to summon God. Then they can only be wrong to keep their distance first. Fortunately, the area occupied by the family has expanded a lot, so they can be arranged farther away. When the god of Valoran is summoned in the future, see if he can form a family alliance headed by himself, and then put the heroes who don't see each other into different families. He even thought about using heroes from various countries as the foundation of the family, and adding local adventurers to supplement the low-end combat power. He took the giants from Mount Targon and sat firmly on the high platform. But this is just his imagination, and he can do it slowly if he has a chance in the future. Knowing that he and Akali were not right, and that there was a violent heart like Keenan in the family, Gia tactfully found a place outside the family alone. Saul helped him choose the address next door to Aina's residence, and by the way, protect her and Aina. After all, it has to play some role. As night fell, Saul packed up the rich hostess after 8 o'clock as promised. That is, at the party, Riveria saw Aegina who had become an adventurer. But her reaction was much calmer than Thor thought. After Aina gave birth to Aegina, Riveria also visited her many times, so she was very familiar with the child Aina. Even Aina had already communicated with her in advance. But this is a good thing for Thor. Saved myself a lot of trouble. Looking at the family members who sat around the table for 2 full tables, before he knew it, there were already so many people in his family. In just half a year, the number of Soul's family has almost doubled. Of course, there are so many reasons for the heroic devotion of evil god in it. Although these children still need some exercise, their talents are obvious, so I don't need to worry about this. He's definitely going to be O'Leary's number 1. There is no doubt about this. After the last operation cleared up a large number of remnants of the Dark Faction, the members of the guild executed the rest of the captives. Now Olaline's peace is more guaranteed. If the previous crusade against Erebus had been to pluck the fruit, this time it was to uproot it. All that's left are some innocuous dead ends. Now, even many of Orario's allies can't hold them anymore. Until one day, there seemed to be no more Dark Faction adventurers in the city of Orario. They seem to have evaporated from the world. No one knows where they went and whether there was any conspiracy. The guild tracked it down for a while, but they had no choice but to give up after finding nothing. Perhaps thinking that the remnants of the Dark Faction had withdrawn from Orario, the adventurers in the guild gradually relaxed their vigilance. However, it is clear that the people of the Dark Faction have different ideas from the guild adventurers. They are not reconciled to leaving the land of Olali so easily. But this time, even the formed organization was almost broken up. Even if they wanted to organize a decent attack, the hard conditions couldn't keep up. After all, there is no one advanced adventurer on the surface. The gap in their current combat power is no longer in the same dimension. Somewhere in the man-made labyrinth of the dungeon, members of the last Rudra Familia that were still organized were gathering here. They only gathered a lot of remnants of the dark faction, but they were all kittens and puppies that Finn didn't bother to catch. Rudra gave them grace again. And the reason why these people gather here is to organize the next terrorist attack. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories, and never miss out on a great listen.